Simone Harris stood at the head of the table, her hands clasped in front of her navy blazer, while 12 pairs of eyes stared at her. Some looked uncomfortable. Others looked away. Only 2 people in that room seemed to be enjoying themselves. Her husband of 8 years, Derek Harris, sat at the opposite end of the table with his arms crossed. His expression was cold, businesslike, as if she were a complete stranger instead of the woman who had supported him through business school, who had helped him build his career, who had loved him with everything she had. "I'm giving you 45 minutes to clear your desk and leave the company," Derek said, his voice echoing in the silent room. "Security will escort you out. Your access cards and company email have already been deactivated." Simone felt the words hit her like physical blows, but she kept her face neutral. She had practiced this moment in her mind for weeks. Stay calm. Don't react. Let him think he's won. "On what grounds?" she asked quietly. Derek slid a folder across the table. "Performance issues. Insubordination. Creating a hostile work environment. It's all documented." Simone didn't need to open the folder. She knew what was inside. Fabricated complaints. Twisted facts. Outright lies. She had seen drafts of these documents 2 months ago when she had accessed Derek's computer late one night. That was when she had finally understood how deep his betrayal went. "This is wrong," said Patricia, the head of human resources. She was one of the few people in the room who looked genuinely distressed. "Simone has been nothing but professional. Her performance reviews have always been excellent." "Your objection is noted," Derek said dismissively. He turned back to Simone. "Do you have anything to say?" Simone looked at him for a long moment. This man she had loved. This man she had trusted. This man who had been sleeping with Candace Monroe, the marketing director, for the past 18 months. Candace sat 3 seats down from Derek, trying to hide her smile behind her hand. Simone could have said so many things. She could have told everyone in that room about the affair. She could have mentioned the money Derek had been stealing from the company accounts. She could have revealed the emails she had found, the text messages, the hotel receipts. She could have destroyed him right there. But that wasn't the plan. "I have nothing to say," Simone replied, her voice steady. "Except this. I hope you've thought this through carefully, Derek. I really do." Something flickered in Derek's eyes. Uncertainty? Fear? But then Candace touched his arm and his expression hardened again. 45 minutes, he repeated. "Starting now." Simone nodded once. She turned and walked toward the door, her heels clicking against the polished floor. She could feel everyone watching her, could hear the whispers starting before she even left the room. As she walked through the office toward her desk, people stopped working to stare. Some looked sympathetic. Others looked curious. News traveled fast in an office of 200 employees. By now, everyone probably knew she had been fired. Simone reached her desk and pulled out the single box she had brought with her that morning. She had already removed everything important weeks ago. The framed photos of her and Derek were gone, replaced with generic images of beaches and mountains. Her personal files were backed up at home. Her awards and certifications had been quietly taken to her car one by one over the past month. She placed a few random items in the box. A coffee mug. Some pens. A notebook. She wanted it to look like she was packing, even though there was nothing here she needed. Simone. She turned to see Thomas Chin, her friend from the finance department, standing nearby. He looked angry. "This is garbage," Thomas said quietly. "Everyone knows it. You're the best VP this company has ever had." "Thank you," Simone said. She wanted to tell him not to worry, that everything would be okay, but she couldn't. Not yet. Security appeared at her desk. 2 guards she recognized, both looking embarrassed about what they had to do. "Mrs. Harris," one of them said. "We need to escort you out." "Of course," Simone said pleasantly. She picked up her box and walked with them toward the elevator. As they passed Derek's office, she saw him through the glass walls. He was on the phone, laughing about something. Candace was perched on the edge of his desk, her hand on his shoulder. They looked so confident. So certain of their victory. Simone allowed herself a small smile. They had no idea what was coming. The elevator doors closed, and Simone descended from the 10th floor of Harris Financial Solutions, the company her father had built from nothing 30 years ago. The company Derek thought he controlled. But there was one thing Derek didn't know. One crucial piece of information he had somehow missed in all his planning and scheming and document falsification. Simone's father hadn't left the company to Derek when he died 3 years ago. He had left it to Simone. 60% ownership, held in a trust that would activate the moment she needed it. Her father had never fully trusted Derek, had seen something in him that Simone had been too in love to notice. The trust had specific conditions. Simone could only access it if Derek tried to remove her from the company or if she discovered evidence of serious misconduct. 6 months ago, when she had found the first signs of the affair, she had gone to her father's lawyer. The man had explained everything. The trust, the ownership, the power she held. And Simone had made a plan. She had spent 6 months gathering evidence, documenting every stolen dollar, recording every inappropriate conversation, building an airtight case with her lawyer and a private investigator. She had waited for Derek to make his move, knowing he would eventually try to push her out so he could have complete control with Candace by his side. And now he had. Tomorrow morning, Simone would return to this building. But she wouldn't be coming back as a fired employee begging for her job. She would be coming back as the majority owner and new CEO of Harris Financial Solutions. And Derek's 45 minutes would be up. 6 months earlier, Simone had come home early from a business trip to surprise Derek with dinner. She had been traveling too much lately and she missed him. She missed them. She wanted to reconnect, to remind him of what they had together. The house was empty when she arrived. Derek's car was in the garage, but he wasn't answering her calls. Simone had felt a prickle of worry. She had gone upstairs to their bedroom and that was when she saw it. Derek's laptop was open on the bed, still logged in. And on the screen was an email exchange with Candace Monroe. Simone had stood there for a long moment, not quite believing what she was reading. The emails were explicit, detailed. They talked about sneaking away during work hours, about hotel rooms and lies told to Simone. The messages went back 18 months. 18 months of lies. 18 months of betrayal. Simone had sat down on the bed, her legs suddenly weak. She had felt her entire world tilting, everything she thought was solid crumbling beneath her feet. But even in that moment of devastating pain, some part of her brain had stayed clear and focused. She had taken pictures of everything. Every email. Every text message she could find. She had sent copies to her personal email account. Then she had closed the laptop and gone downstairs to wait. Derek had come home an hour later, smiling and casual, asking about her trip. He had kissed her on the cheek like nothing was wrong. And Simone had pretended. She had smiled back. She had made dinner. She had acted like the loving wife while inside she was breaking apart. That night, after Derek fell asleep, Simone had gone into their home office and started digging deeper. She had accessed Derek's computer files, his cloud storage, his personal accounts. What she found had made her physically sick. The affair was bad enough. But Derek was also stealing from the company. He had created fake vendor accounts and was funneling money into offshore accounts he controlled. Over the past 2 years, he had stolen almost $2 million. Simone had stayed up all night, documenting everything. And then at 6 in the morning she had called her father's lawyer, Bernard Lawson. Bernard had been her father's closest friend and legal advisor for 30 years. When her father died 3 years ago, Bernard had been the one to handle the estate. Simone had met with him a few times about the will, but there had been so much to process, so much grief, that she hadn't paid attention to all the details. Now she needed to understand everything. They had met at Bernard's office that same morning. Simone had come straight from her house, still wearing yesterday's clothes, her eyes red from crying. "Tell me about the trust," she had said without preamble. "Tell me what my father really left me." Bernard had looked at her carefully. "You found something, haven't you? Just tell me about the trust." So Bernard had explained. When Simone's father, James Harris, had started Harris Financial Solutions 30 years ago, it had been his dream, his legacy. He had built it from a one-room. Married Derek, James had been happy for his daughter. But he had also been cautious. "Your father liked Derek well enough," Bernard had said. But he didn't fully trust him. He saw ambition in Derek that wasn't always tempered with integrity. So James had structured his will very carefully. On paper, it looked like he had left the company equally to Simone and Derek. But in reality he had placed Simone's shares in a trust with specific conditions. The trust would activate if Derek ever tried to remove Simone from the company or if there was evidence of serious misconduct. "You own 60% of Harris Financial Solutions," Bernard had told her. "Derek only has 40%. But he doesn't know that. The trust was designed to protect you and the company your father built." Simone had sat in silence for a long moment, processing this information. Her father had known. Somehow he had known that Derek might betray her. And he had given her a way to fight back. "What do I need to do to activate the trust?" she had asked. "Document everything," Bernard had said. "Every instance of misconduct. Every piece of evidence. Then wait for Derek to make a move. The moment he tries to remove you from the company, The trust activates and you become majority owner. You'll have the power to remove him instead. And so Simone had started building her case. She had hired a private investigator named Rachel Torres, a former FBI agent who specialized in corporate fraud. Together, they had documented the affair, the embezzlement, the misuse of company resources, the hostile work environment Derek had created. Rachel had been thorough. She had tracked Derek and Candace to hotels. She had documented the fake vendor accounts. She had interviewed other employees who had experienced Derek's harassment and bullying. She had built a case so airtight that no lawyer would be able to defend against it. For 6 months, Simone had lived a double life. During the day, she went to work and pretended everything was normal. She smiled at Derek. She attended meetings. She did her job with the same excellence she always had. At night, she came home and played the loving wife. But inside, she was documenting everything. Recording conversations. Saving emails. Building her evidence file with Bernard and Rachel's help. It had been the hardest 6 months of Simone's life. There were nights when she wanted to scream at Derek, to throw the evidence in his face and watch him squirm. There were moments when the weight of the betrayal felt like it would crush her. But she had kept going. Because she knew that if she revealed what she knew too soon, Derek would have time to cover his tracks. He would hide the money. He would delete the evidence. He would spin the story and make himself the victim. Simone needed to wait until Derek felt completely confident. Until he thought he had won. Until he made the fatal mistake of trying to remove her from the company. And then she would strike. Her best friend, Nia Johnson, was the only person besides Bernard and Rachel who knew the truth. Nia had been Simone's rock through everything. She had held Simone while she cried. She had listened to her rage and grief. She had helped her stay strong when all Simone wanted to do was fall apart. "He's going to regret this," Nia had said after Simone told her the plan. "When you're done with him, Derek Harris won't know what hit him." Now, sitting in her car in the parking lot of Harris Financial Solutions with her pathetic box of office supplies, Simone pulled out her phone and called Bernard. "It happened," she said when he answered. "Derek just fired me in front of the entire executive team." "Then it's time," Bernard said. She could hear the satisfaction in his voice. "I'll file the trust activation papers with the board immediately. The emergency board meeting is set for tomorrow morning at 9. Derek will receive notification tonight." "And the other matters?" "Rachel has already contacted the police about the embezzlement. They'll be ready to interview you tomorrow. I've also prepared the divorce papers. Everything is ready to go." Simone took a deep breath. 6 months of planning. 6 months of careful strategy. It all came down to this. "Let's do it," she said. That evening, Simone went to Nia's apartment instead of going home. She couldn't face Derek yet. She couldn't pretend anymore. Tomorrow everything would explode, but tonight she needed to be somewhere safe. Nia opened the door and immediately pulled Simone into a hug. "How are you holding up?" Nia asked. "I don't know," Simone said honestly. "Part of me feels powerful. Like I'm finally taking control. But part of me just feels broken." They sat on Nia's couch with wine and takeout. Simone told her friend everything about the day. About Derek's cold expression. About Candace's smirk. About walking out with that stupid box while everyone watched. "Tomorrow he's going to realize he made the biggest mistake of his life," Nia said fiercely. "Tomorrow you're going to walk back into that building as the boss. As the owner. And Derek is going to lose everything." "I know," Simone said. "But right now I just feel tired." Her phone buzzed. It was a text from Derek. "I hope you landed on your feet. No hard feelings. It was just business." Simone stared at the message. No hard feelings. Just business. As if he hadn't destroyed their marriage. As if he hadn't stolen from her father's company. As if he hadn't humiliated her in front of everyone. She showed the text to Nia. "Don't respond," Nia advised. "Let him think you're devastated. Let him think he won. The look on his face tomorrow will be so much better if he's completely blindsided." Simone nodded. She put her phone away and tried to eat, but she had no appetite. Tomorrow would change everything. Tomorrow she would take back what was rightfully hers. Tonight she just needed to survive. Simone arrived at Harris Financial Solutions at 8:30 the next morning. She wore her best suit, a charcoal gray power suit her father had bought her when she first started at the company. She had spent extra time on her hair and makeup. She wanted to look strong, confident, in control. The security guards at the front desk looked confused when they saw her. "Mrs. Harris," one of them said awkwardly, "your access has been deactivated. I can't let you up." "Check your email," Simone said calmly. You should have received new instructions this morning. The guard frowned and checked his computer. His eyes widened as he read whatever was on the screen. He looked up at Simone with new respect. My apologies, Mrs. Harris. You're cleared to go up. Simone took the elevator to the 10th floor. Her heart was pounding, but her hands were steady. The elevator doors opened and she stepped out into the office. People stopped working when they saw her. Conversations died mid-sentence. Everyone stared. Simone walked through the office with her head high, heading straight for the large conference room. Through the glass walls, she could see the board members already gathering. Bernard was there, along with the 6 other board members who had received emergency meeting notices late last night. Derek wasn't there yet. Good. Simone wanted to be in position when he arrived. She entered the conference room and took her seat at the head of the table. The spot Derek had occupied yesterday when he fired her. Several board members looked surprised to see her, but Bernard had clearly briefed them. They knew what was about to happen. At 8:55, Derek strode into the office. Simone could see him through the glass walls, walking with his usual confidence. He had his phone to his ear, laughing about something. Candace walked beside him, matching his stride. Then Derek saw the conference room. Saw the board members gathered. Saw Simone sitting at the head of the table. He stopped walking. His smile vanished. Even from across the office, Simone could see the confusion on his face. Derek ended his phone call and walked toward the conference room. Candace stayed outside, looking uncertain. Derek opened the door. What's going on? He demanded. I didn't call a board meeting. I did, Simone said. Her voice was calm, but it cut through the room like a knife. Sit down, Derek. You don't have the authority to call a board meeting, Derek said. But there was something in his voice now. A hint of worry. Bernard stood up. Actually, she does. Mr. Harris, I need to inform you of some changes in the company's ownership structure. Derek's face went pale. What are you talking about? Bernard slid a folder across the table. When James Harris died 3 years ago, his will stipulated that 60% of the company would be held in trust for his daughter, Simone Harris. That trust had specific activation conditions. As of yesterday, when you terminated Mrs. Harris's employment without cause, those conditions were met. That's not possible, Derek said. But his voice shook. The will left the company 50-50. That's what you were told, Bernard said. But the actual documentation tells a different story. James Harris never fully trusted you with his life's work. He made sure his daughter would always have control if something went wrong. Simone watched Derek's face as understanding crashed over him. She saw the moment he realized what this meant. What he had done to himself. Simone owns 60% of Harris Financial Solutions, Bernard continued, which makes her the majority shareholder. And as of this moment, she is exercising her right to call an emergency board meeting to address serious concerns about your conduct as CEO. Derek looked at Simone. Really looked at her. And for the first time since this all began, she saw fear in his eyes. You knew, he whispered. When I fired you yesterday, you already knew. I've known for 6 months, Simone said quietly. Ever since I found your emails with Candace. Ever since I discovered you've been stealing from this company. The room went silent. The other board members leaned forward, suddenly very interested. I don't know what you think you found, Derek started, but Simone cut him off. I found everything. $2 million embezzled through fake vendor accounts. 18 months of an affair with a subordinate employee, which creates massive liability for sexual harassment claims. Falsified performance reviews to justify my termination. Misuse of company resources. And that's just the beginning. She opened her own folder and began distributing documents to each board member. Bank statements. Email printouts. Hotel receipts. Private investigator reports. The evidence was overwhelming and irrefutable. This is garbage, Derek said, but his voice lacked conviction. You fabricated all of this. The police don't think so, Simone said. I met with Detective Morrison from the Financial Crimes Unit this morning. They're very interested in your offshore accounts. Derek's face went from pale to gray. He sat down heavily in his chair. I'm calling for an immediate vote to remove Derek Harris as CEO, Simone said, looking around the table. All in favor? Every hand went up except Derek's. The motion passes, Bernard said. Derek Harris, you are hereby removed as CEO of Harris Financial Solutions, effective immediately. You will turn over all company property, including your access cards, computer, and phone. Security will escort you from the building. You can't do this, Derek said. But there was no fight left in his voice. Simone, please. We can work this out. We can fix this. There's nothing to fix, Simone said. You destroyed our marriage. You stole from my father's company. You tried to take everything from me. Now you're going to face the consequences. Patricia from HR appeared in the doorway. Mr. Harris, I need to inform you that the company is launching a formal investigation into multiple harassment complaints. Several employees have come forward with allegations against you. You're suspended without pay pending the outcome of that investigation. Derek looked around the room searching for an ally, but no one met his eyes. He had burned too many bridges, made too many enemies, and now there was no one left to save him. 45 minutes, Simone said softly. That's how long you gave me yesterday to pack my things and leave. I'm giving you the same courtesy. Clear your office and go. Derek stood up. For a moment, Simone thought he might argue, might try to fight back. But then his shoulders slumped. He walked out of the conference room without another word. Through the glass walls, Simone watched him cross the office. Employees stepped out of his way. No one spoke to him. He had ruled this place with fear and intimidation for 3 years. Now he was being removed in disgrace. Candace approached him near his office, reaching for his arm. But Derek shook her off. He went into his office alone and closed the door. What happens now? Asked Thomas Chin, one of the board members. Now we rebuild, Simone said. She stood up and looked around the table. This company was built on integrity and excellence. My father believed in doing business the right way, treating employees with respect, and serving our clients with honesty. Derek corrupted that. But we're going to fix it. The board supports you, said Elizabeth Wu, another board member. We should have seen what was happening. We failed you and we failed this company. We move forward from here, Simone said. First priority is the criminal investigation. Then we deal with the civil liability from Derek's harassment. Then we start rebuilding our reputation and our culture. Bernard smiled. Your father would be proud of you. Simone felt tears prick her eyes, but she blinked them back. There would be time for emotion later. Right now she had a company to save. Security escorted Derek from the building 20 minutes later. He carried a small box of personal items. He didn't look at anyone as he walked to the elevator. Candace wasn't with him. Simone stood at her office window and watched Derek's car pull out of the parking lot. In 24 hours, her entire life had changed. Yesterday she had been the humiliated wife, fired in front of her colleagues. Today she was the CEO and majority owner. Her phone buzzed. It was a text from Nia. Did you destroy him? Simone smiled and typed back. Completely. The next 2 weeks felt like a storm that never stopped. Simone moved into Derek's old office and immediately began the work of undoing the damage he had done. Every day brought new revelations about just how corrupt his leadership had been. The police investigation moved quickly. Detective Morrison was thorough and relentless. Within a week, they had traced all $2 million Derek had stolen. The offshore accounts, the fake vendors, the falsified invoices. It was all there, documented and undeniable. This is one of the cleanest cases I've ever seen, Detective Morrison told Simone when she met with him. Your private investigator did excellent work. We have him dead to rights. Will he go to jail? Simone asked. That depends on whether he takes a plea deal. With this much evidence, I'd be surprised if it went to trial. His lawyer will probably advise him to plead guilty and hope for leniency. Simone nodded. Part of her wanted Derek to face the full weight of the justice system. But another part just wanted it over. She wanted to move on with her life. The HR investigation was even more damaging. Patricia interviewed 12 employees who came forward with complaints about Derek. Stories of inappropriate comments, unwanted advances, retaliation against people who refused his demands. Derek had created a toxic environment where people were afraid to speak up. It's worse than we thought, Patricia told Simone. Derek wasn't just having an affair with Candace. He was using his position to manipulate and intimidate people throughout the company. We're looking at potential lawsuits from multiple employees. What about Candace? Simone asked. She felt no sympathy for the woman who had helped destroy her marriage. She's claiming she was pressured into the relationship. Says Derek threatened her job if she didn't comply. Simone raised an eyebrow. And you believe her? Patricia hesitated. I don't know. The emails you provided show she was a willing participant. But it's possible Derek did use his position as leverage. We're still investigating. The divorce proceedings started immediately. Simone had filed papers the same day Derek was removed as CEO. Her lawyer, Sharon Murphy, was a shark who specialized in high-asset divorces. "This is going to be clean," Sharon told her. "You have an ironclad prenup. Derek signed it before the wedding. He gets nothing from your family money, nothing from the business, and given his infidelity and criminal behavior, we can argue he shouldn't get anything at all." "What will he try to claim?" Simone asked. "He'll probably go for spousal support since you're now the primary earner. But given that he was stealing from the company and having an affair, no judge is going to be sympathetic. We'll offer him a minimal settlement just to make this go away quickly." Derek's lawyer reached out within a week. They wanted to negotiate. The meeting took place in Sharon's office. Derek sat across from Simone for the first time since the board meeting. He looked terrible. His suit was wrinkled. He had dark circles under his eyes. His lawyer, a young man named Robert Chin, looked uncomfortable. "My client would like to discuss a settlement," Robert said. "Your client committed adultery and embezzled $2 million from my client's company," Sharon replied coolly. "He should be grateful she's willing to settle it all instead of taking every penny he has left." "The affair is irrelevant in a no-fault state," Robert argued. "But the embezzlement isn't. And neither is the fact that he terminated her employment in an attempt to take control of her family business. We have documentation of everything." Derek finally spoke. "Simone, please. Can we talk about this privately?" "No," Simone said firmly. "Everything goes through our lawyers. You lost the right to speak to me directly when you fired me in front of the entire company." "I made a mistake," Derek said. His voice cracked. "I know I did. But we were married for 8 years. That has to mean something." "It meant something to me," Simone said. "But it clearly didn't mean anything to you. You betrayed me with Candace. You stole from my father's company. You tried to take everything from me. Now you're facing the consequences." "I'll lose everything," Derek whispered. "You should have thought about that before," Simone replied. Sharon slid a document across the table. "Here's our offer. You keep your car and your personal possessions. You get $50,000 as a settlement. In exchange, you waive any claim to spousal support, any claim to the business, and any claim to Mrs. Harris's family assets. You also agree to cooperate fully with the criminal investigation." Robert looked at the document and winced. "This is barely anything." "It's more than he deserves," Sharon said. "And if he doesn't take it, we'll go to trial and he'll get nothing. Plus, every detail of his affair and his embezzlement will become public record. Your client's reputation is already destroyed in the financial industry. Does he really want this dragged through the courts?" Derek and Robert stepped outside to discuss. Simone sat in silence, her hands folded in her lap. She felt numb. This man she had loved, this man she had built a life with, had been reduced to a legal negotiation. Nia had asked her if she felt sad about the divorce. Simone had thought about it carefully before answering. "I feel sad about what I thought we had," she had said. "But I'm not sad about losing what we actually had. Because what we actually had was a lie." Derek and Robert came back into the room. Derek's eyes were red. "We'll take the settlement," Robert said quietly. "Good decision," Sharon said. She produced the paperwork. Derek signed without reading it. His hand shook as he wrote his name. It was done. 8 years of marriage, ended with a signature. Derek stood to leave. He paused at the door and looked back at Simone. "I did love you," he said. "I know you don't believe that anymore. But I did." "If you loved me, you wouldn't have done any of this," Simone replied. "Now please leave." After they were gone, Sharon poured Simone a glass of water. "How are you doing?" she asked. "I honestly don't know," Simone said. "I thought I'd feel more. But I just feel empty." "That's normal. You've been in survival mode for months. Now that the immediate crisis is over, the emotions will catch up with you. Make sure you have support. Friends. A therapist. Don't try to process this alone." Simone nodded. She had actually started seeing a therapist 2 weeks ago. Dr. Lisa Washington was helping her work through the trauma of Derek's betrayal and the stress of everything that had happened. "You're not just dealing with the end of a marriage," Dr. Washington had told her. "You're dealing with the discovery that someone you trusted completely was lying to you for years. That's a profound violation. It's going to take time to heal." 2 days later, Derek was formally charged with embezzlement and wire fraud. The district attorney's office announced they were seeking prison time. Derek's lawyer immediately began negotiating a plea deal. Candace was also facing charges. She had helped Derek set up some of the fake vendor accounts, which made her an accessory to his crimes. She hired her own lawyer and tried to claim she didn't know what Derek was doing. But the evidence showed she had been actively involved. The news media picked up the story. Local CEO arrested for embezzling from wife's company, read the headlines. Derek's face was all over the local news. His LinkedIn profile disappeared. His professional reputation was completely destroyed. Simone watched one of the news broadcasts with Nia. They sat in Simone's new apartment. She had moved out of the house she shared with Derek and found a modern condo downtown. It was smaller, but it was hers. How does it feel? Nia asked. Watching him fall apart? I thought it would feel better, Simone admitted. I thought I'd feel vindicated, triumphant. But mostly I just feel tired. You're allowed to feel complicated things about this. He was your husband. You loved him. Even though he didn't deserve it. I keep thinking about all the signs I missed. All the times he came home late and I believed his excuses. All the business trips that were probably just him with Candace. How did I not see it? Because you trusted him, Nia said. Because you're a good person who believes the best about people. That's not a weakness, Simone. That's one of your strengths. Derek took advantage of that. But that's on him, not you. Simone's phone rang. It was Bernard. Derek's lawyer called, Bernard said. They're accepting a plea deal. Derek will plead guilty to embezzlement and wire fraud. He'll pay restitution of $2 million plus fines. The prosecutor is recommending 2 years in prison followed by 5 years probation. 2 years, Simone repeated. That's not very long. It's enough to ruin him, Bernard said. He'll be a convicted felon. He'll never work in finance again. His professional licenses will be revoked. Even after he gets out, he'll be starting over from nothing. After the call ended, Simone sat in silence. 2 years. Derek would serve 2 years in prison for what he'd done. It didn't feel like enough. But then again, nothing would feel like enough. No punishment could undo the betrayal. No consequence could repair what he had broken. But it was something. And that would have to be enough. With the legal matters moving forward, Simone could finally focus on what she did best, running Harris Financial Solutions. The company her father had built deserved better than what Derek had done to it. And she was determined to restore its reputation and its values. Her first major decision as CEO was to promote several employees who had been held back under Derek's leadership. Thomas Chin became CFO. Patricia moved into a new role as Chief People Officer with expanded authority. Elizabeth Wu, who had been on the board, came back as Chief Operating Officer. We need to rebuild the culture here, Simone told them in their first leadership meeting. Under Derek, this place became toxic. People were afraid to speak up, afraid to challenge ideas, afraid to be themselves. That ends now. They implemented new policies. Anonymous reporting systems for harassment or misconduct. Regular culture surveys to measure employee satisfaction. Transparent compensation structures. Flexible work arrangements. Programs to support employee mental health and work-life balance. Your father would approve, Patricia told Simone. He always believed that if you take care of your employees, they'll take care of the business. Simone also reached out to the employees who had suffered under Derek's harassment. She met with each of them personally, apologized for not seeing what was happening, and offered them compensation for what they had endured. I can't undo what Derek did to you, she told a young analyst named Rebecca who had been one of Derek's targets. But I can make sure it never happens again. And I can make sure this company supports you moving forward. Rebecca had cried during that meeting. I thought about quitting so many times. But I love this company. I love the work. I just couldn't stand him. You shouldn't have had to make that choice, Simone said. And I'm sorry you did. The company began to change. People smiled more in the hallways. Meetings became more collaborative instead of tense and confrontational. Employees started coming to leadership with ideas instead of just doing what they were told. But rebuilding trust took time. Some employees had left during Derek's tenure and refused to come back. Others were skeptical that things would really be different. Simone had to prove through her actions that she meant what she said. One afternoon, about a month after taking over as CEO, Simone was reviewing financial reports when Elizabeth knocked on her door. There's someone here to see you. Terrence Walker from Summit Consulting Group. He says he has an appointment? Simone checked her calendar. Right. She had agreed to meet with a business consultant to help with the company's restructuring. Thomas had recommended him. Send him in, Simone said. Terrence Walker was not what she expected. She had pictured a middle-aged white man in a boring suit. Instead, a tall black man in his late 30s walked through her door. He had warm brown eyes, a close-cropped beard, and an easy smile. He wore a well-tailored navy suit that suggested both professionalism and style. Miss Harris, thank you for taking the time to meet with me, Terrence said, extending his hand. Simone shook it. His grip was firm and confident. Mr. Walker. Thomas speaks highly of your work. Please call me Terrence. And Thomas is too kind. I simply help organizations navigate change more effectively. They sat down and Simone outlined the situation. She told him about Derek's removal, the cultural problems in the company, and her vision for where she wanted Harris Financial Solutions to go. Terrence listened without interrupting, taking occasional notes on his tablet. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment, thinking. You're not just dealing with structural problems, he said finally. You're dealing with trauma. This organization has been through something difficult. Your employees watched leadership behave badly. They felt unsafe. Some were directly victimized. You can't fix that with new policies alone. What do you suggest? Simone asked. Culture work. Real culture work. It's going to take time. Probably a year or more. But if you're committed to doing it right, I can help you build something stronger than what you had before. They talked for over an hour. Terrence asked thoughtful questions and offered insights that showed he genuinely understood what the company was dealing with. He didn't try to sell her on a cookie-cutter solution. Instead, he wanted to understand Harris Financial Solutions specifically and design an approach that would work for them. I'd like to hire you, Simone said when they were done. When can you start? I can clear my schedule to prioritize your company. I think we should start with listening sessions. I'll interview employees at all levels, get their honest feedback about what's working and what isn't. Then we can design interventions based on what we learn. That sounds perfect. Over the next several weeks, Terrence became a regular presence at Harris Financial Solutions. He conducted his listening sessions, interviewed dozens of employees, and compiled his findings into a comprehensive report. Simone found herself looking forward to their meetings. Terrence was easy to talk to. He asked good questions and actually listened to her answers. He challenged her thinking in productive ways. And he made her laugh, which was something she hadn't done much of lately. Your employees are deeply loyal to you, Terrence told her during one of their weekly check-ins. They respect your leadership. But they're also watching carefully to make sure you're different from Derek. They need to see consistent follow-through on your promises. I understand. What else? They're worried about you personally. Several people mentioned that you seem to be working too much. They're concerned about your well-being. Simone blinked. They're worried about me? You've been through a major trauma. Your husband betrayed you, tried to destroy your career, and stole from your company. Then you had to immediately step into a CEO role and fix everything he broke. That's a lot for anyone to handle. Your employees can see that you're carrying a heavy load. Simone felt unexpected emotion rising in her throat. I'm fine. Are you? Terrence asked gently. Because it's okay if you're not. For some reason, that simple question broke something loose inside her. Simone felt tears start to fall and she couldn't stop them. She covered her face with her hands, embarrassed to be crying in front of a business consultant she barely knew. But Terrence didn't seem uncomfortable. He simply handed her a box of tissues and waited quietly while she collected herself. I'm sorry, Simone said, wiping her eyes. That was unprofessional. It was human, Terrence said. You've been holding everything together for months. Putting on a strong face for your employees, for the board, for the lawyers. But eventually the pressure has to release somehow. I just feel like I can't afford to fall apart. Too many people are depending on me. You're not falling apart. You're processing. That's different. And you need to take care of yourself, Simone. You can't lead effectively if you're running on empty. It was the first time he had used her first name. Something about the way he said it, with genuine concern and warmth, made her feel seen in a way she hadn't felt in a long time. Thank you, she said quietly. That evening, Simone had dinner with Nia and told her about the conversation. I like this Terrence person already, Nia said. He sounds emotionally intelligent, which is rare in a business consultant. He's very good at his job. The employees trust him. And what about you? Do you trust him? Simone thought about it. Yes, I think I do. Nia gave her a knowing look. He's also handsome, isn't he? Nia. What? I'm just saying. You're allowed to notice these things. You're getting divorced from a cheating thief. You're allowed to find someone else attractive. It's not like that. He's just a consultant. This is a professional relationship. For now, Nia said with a grin. But I've known you since college, Simone. I can tell when you like someone. And you like him. Simone didn't respond. She wasn't ready to think about dating or romance or any of that. Her divorce wasn't even final yet. She was focused on rebuilding the company and healing from Derek's betrayal. But as she drove home that night, she found herself thinking about Terrence's warm smile. The way he listened. The way he seemed to genuinely care about her well-being and not just the consulting project. Maybe Nia was right. Maybe she did like him. But that was a problem for another day. The criminal trial happened faster than Simone expected. Derek's lawyer had tried to negotiate the best possible plea deal, but the prosecutor was pushing for prison time. Eventually they reached an agreement. Derek would plead guilty and cooperate fully in exchange for a reduced sentence. But before the sentencing, there was still a victim impact hearing. The prosecutor had asked Simone if she wanted to give a statement. She had said yes immediately. She needed Derek to hear what he had done. She needed to speak her truth. The hearing took place on a cold Tuesday morning in November. Simone wore a simple black suit. Nia came with her for support, sitting in the gallery behind the prosecutor's table. Bernard was there too, along with several employees from Harris Financial Solutions who wanted to see justice done. Derek sat at the defense table with his lawyer. He had lost weight. His expensive suit hung loose on his frame. When Simone walked into the courtroom, he looked at her and then quickly looked away. The judge called the hearing to order. Derek stood and entered his guilty plea to 2 counts of embezzlement and 1 count of wire fraud. His voice was barely audible as he said, "Guilty, Your Honor." Then it was time for the victim impact statements. The prosecutor called Simone first. She walked to the front of the courtroom and took her seat in the witness stand. She had written out her statement, but she had memorized most of it. She needed to look Derek in the eye when she said these things. "Your Honor, my name is Simone Harris. Derek Harris was my husband for 8 years. He was also an employee at my family's company, Harris Financial Solutions. I'm here today to tell you about the impact of his crimes." She took a breath and continued. "When my father died 3 years ago, he left me his company. He built Harris Financial Solutions from nothing. It was his life's work, his legacy. Derek knew how much that company meant to me, how much my father's memory meant to me, and he betrayed both." Derek was looking at his hands now, unable to meet her eyes. "For 2 years, Derek stole from my father's company. $2 million that was meant to serve our clients, pay our employees, and honor my father's vision. He created fake vendor accounts. He falsified documents. He lied every single day. But the theft was only part of it. Derek also had an affair with a subordinate employee. He created a hostile work environment where people felt afraid and uncomfortable. He harassed employees who refused his advances. And when I started to ask questions, he tried to destroy me." Simone's voice stayed steady, even though she felt emotion building inside her. "Derek fired me in front of the entire executive team. He humiliated me in my own company. He tried to take away everything my father built, everything I had worked for. He thought he could get away with it because he didn't know I owned the company. He underestimated me. The financial damage can be repaired. The $2 million will be paid back. But the personal damage is harder to quantify. Derek didn't just betray me professionally. He betrayed our marriage. He lied to my face every day for 18 months while he was having an affair. He stole from my father's company while pretending to care about its success. He destroyed the trust of 200 employees who believed in his leadership. I've spent months in therapy trying to process this betrayal. I've had to rebuild not just a company but my own sense of self-worth and ability to trust. Some days I still struggle to believe that any of this really happened. That the man I loved could be capable of such deliberate cruelty." Now Simone looked directly at Derek. "I want you to understand something, Derek. You didn't just hurt me. You hurt everyone at Harris Financial Solutions. You hurt our clients who trusted us with their financial planning. You hurt employees who looked up to you. You hurt my father's legacy. And you did it all for money and an affair. I hope you spend your time in prison thinking about what you've done. I hope you understand that you had everything, a loving wife, a good career, respect in your community, and you threw it all away for greed and selfishness." I'm not asking the court for a harsh sentence because I want revenge. I'm asking for accountability. People need to know that when you betray trust this completely, there are consequences. When you steal from people who believed in you, there are consequences. When you abuse your power, there are consequences. Simone folded her hands in her lap. "Thank you for allowing me to speak today, Your Honor." The courtroom was silent. The judge nodded to her. Simone stood and walked back to her seat. Nia reached over and squeezed her hand. Several other people gave victim impact statements. Thomas Chin spoke about the toxic culture Derek had created. Patricia talked about the employees who had suffered from his harassment. Even Elizabeth Wu, who had served on the board, spoke about Derek's abuse of power and betrayal of fiduciary duty. With each statement, Derek seemed to sink lower in his chair. His lawyer looked grim. This was not going well for them. Finally, Derek was allowed to speak. He stood up, his hands shaking. "Your Honor, I know I've done terrible things. I've hurt people I cared about. I've betrayed trust. I've broken laws. There's no excuse for what I did." His voice broke. "I think I convinced myself that I deserved more. That I had earned the right to take shortcuts. That the rules didn't apply to me. I was wrong about all of it." He glanced toward Simone but couldn't hold her gaze. "To my employees at Harris Financial Solutions, I'm sorry for creating a workplace where you felt unsafe and disrespected. You deserved better leadership. You deserved someone who valued your contributions and protected your well-being. To the clients whose money I stole, I'm sorry. You trusted our company with your financial future and I violated that trust. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make restitution." Then he looked directly at Simone. "And to Simone, I'm most sorry of all. You gave me everything. Your love, your trust, your support. You believed in me when no one else did. You helped me build a career and a life. And I repaid you with betrayal and cruelty. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't deserve forgiveness. I just want you to know that I understand what I destroyed. And I will regret it for the rest of my life." Derek sat down. Several people in the gallery were crying. But Simone felt nothing. His apology was too late. His regret was meaningless. He was only sorry because he got caught. The judge reviewed the case materials and the sentencing recommendations. Then he looked at Derek. "Mr. Harris, you held a position of significant trust and authority. You used that position to steal, to manipulate, and to harm others. You betrayed your wife, your employees, and your professional obligations. The court finds your conduct particularly egregious given the positions of trust involved. Therefore, I am sentencing you to 36 months in federal prison, followed by 5 years of supervised release. You will pay full restitution of $2 million plus interest and penalties. Your professional licenses are revoked. And you are prohibited from serving in any fiduciary capacity in the future." 36 months. 3 years. It was more than the prosecutor had recommended. Derek's lawyer looked shocked. Derek himself went pale. "Do you understand the sentence?" the judge asked. "Yes, Your Honor," Derek whispered. "Then this hearing is concluded." The bailiff came to escort Derek away. He would be taken into custody immediately to begin serving his sentence. As he stood, he looked back one more time at Simone. She met his eyes. She didn't smile or cry or react in any way. She just looked at him. This man she had loved. This man who had destroyed their life together. This man who was now going to prison for what he had done. Then the bailiff led him away and Derek Harris was gone. Outside the courthouse, Simone stood in the cold November air. Nia wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "How are you feeling?" Nia asked. "I don't know. It's done. It's finally done." Bernard joined them. "You were very brave in there. Your father would have been proud of you. Thank you for everything, Bernard. I couldn't have done this without you. Your father made sure you'd have the tools you needed. You just had to be strong enough to use them. And you were." That evening, Simone sat in her apartment alone. She had declined Nia's invitation to celebrate. She didn't feel like celebrating. She felt exhausted and empty. She thought about Derek in a cell somewhere, beginning 3 years of prison. She thought about Candace, who had taken a plea deal of her own and would serve 18 months. She thought about the company and all the work that still needed to be done. Most of all, she thought about her father. She wished he were here to see what she had done. To see her stand up for his company and his values. To see her refuse to be destroyed by Derek's betrayal. "I did it, Dad," she whispered to the empty room. "I protected what you built. I hope I made you proud." Her phone buzzed. It was a text from Terrence. "I heard about the sentencing. I hope you're doing okay. If you want to talk, I'm here." Simone smiled for the first time that day. She texted back. "Thank you. That means a lot." She set her phone down and looked out her window at the city lights. Tomorrow she would go back to work. Tomorrow she would continue building Harris Financial Solutions into something even better than before. Tomorrow she would keep moving forward. But tonight she would rest. She had earned it. 6 months passed. The scandal surrounding Derek's arrest and imprisonment faded from the headlines. Harris Financial Solutions began to rebuild its reputation. And Simone discovered that she was actually a very good CEO. Under her leadership, the company started to grow in new directions. She had always been interested in sustainable investing and socially responsible business practices. Now she had the authority to implement those values. I want to launch a new division, she told the leadership team during a strategy meeting. Focus on impact investing. Helping clients put their money into companies and projects that do good in the world while still generating returns. Thomas ran the numbers. It's actually a smart move. There's huge demand in this market segment, especially from younger investors. And it aligns with our brand values. Elizabeth handled the operational side. We'll need to hire specialists. People who understand both finance and social impact. I can start recruiting. Over the next few months, the impact investing division took shape. They hired experts in clean energy, affordable housing, sustainable agriculture, and healthcare access. The division started attracting clients who wanted their investments to reflect their values. Local media ran stories about Harris Financial Solutions' transformation. From scandal to success, how one CEO is rebuilding her father's legacy, read one headline. Simone did several interviews talking about the importance of ethical leadership and corporate responsibility. The company was also growing in other ways. They opened a second office in Atlanta. They expanded their services to include financial education programs for underserved communities. They partnered with local nonprofits to provide free financial counseling. Your father built this company to serve people, Simone told her employees at a company-wide meeting. Not just wealthy people. Not just people who could afford expensive advisors. Everyone. That's what we're getting back to. The employees responded with enthusiasm. Morale was higher than it had been in years. People felt proud to work at Harris Financial Solutions again. Through all of this, Terrence remained a steady presence. His consulting engagement had technically ended months ago, but he kept finding reasons to stop by the office. To check on how the culture initiatives were progressing. To offer advice on the expansion plans. To have coffee with Simone and talk through challenges. Simone found herself looking forward to those coffee meetings more than she should. Terrence was easy to talk to. He made her laugh. He challenged her thinking. And there was something between them, a connection that went beyond professional courtesy. One afternoon, they were reviewing employee survey results in Simone's office when Terrence's phone rang. He glanced at it and smiled. Sorry, I need to take this. It's my daughter. Simone felt a small jolt. Daughter? She hadn't known he had children. Terrence stepped into the hallway for the call. When he came back, he looked apologetic. Sorry about that. Co-parenting logistics. I didn't know you had a daughter, Simone said, trying to sound casual. Yeah, her name is Kennedy. She's 7. She lives with her mom most of the time, but I have her every other week. That must be challenging. It has its moments. But Kennedy's amazing. She makes everything worth it. Terrence pulled up a photo on his phone. A beautiful little girl with braids and a gap-toothed smile beamed at the camera. She's adorable, Simone said sincerely. Her mom and I split up 3 years ago. It was amicable. We're better as co-parents than we were as partners. But Kennedy's always been my priority. Simone appreciated his honesty. She told him about her divorce, though he already knew the basics from the news coverage. That must have been brutal, Terrence said. Not just the betrayal, but having it all play out so publicly. It was the hardest thing I've ever been through. Some days I still can't believe it happened. You've handled it with so much grace. Not just the legal stuff, but the way you've led the company through it all. That takes real strength. Something in the way he looked at her made Simone's heart beat faster. This wasn't just professional respect anymore. This was something else. I should probably go, Terrence said, but he didn't move. I have to pick up Kennedy from school. Of course. Thank you for your help with the survey data. Anytime. Terrence hesitated at the door. Simone, I know this might be inappropriate given that I'm technically still consulting for your company. But would you be interested in having dinner sometime? Not a business dinner. An actual date. Simone felt a rush of emotions. Excitement. Nervousness. Fear. It had been almost a year since her separation from Derek. Her divorce was finalized. She was legally free. But was she emotionally ready for this? I would like that, she heard herself say. But I need you to know that I'm still figuring things out. I'm not sure I'm ready for anything serious. That's okay. We can take it slow. Just dinner. See how it goes. They made plans for that Friday. After Terrence left, Simone sat at her desk feeling giddy and terrified in equal measure. She was going on a date. Her first date in almost 9 years. The thought was both thrilling and terrifying. She called Nia immediately. He asked you out. Finally. I've been waiting for this to happen for months. How did you know there was something there? Simone asked. Because I see the way you light up when you talk about him. And I've seen him looking at you when he thinks no one's watching. That man is interested, Simone. He has been for a while. What if I'm not ready? What if I mess this up? Then you mess it up. But you won't know unless you try. You can't let Derek ruin your ability to trust people. Terrence is not Derek. The date was wonderful. Terrence took her to a small Italian restaurant in a quiet neighborhood. They talked for 3 hours about everything and nothing. Their childhoods. Their favorite books. Their dreams for the future. He told her about Kennedy and his co-parenting arrangement. She told him about her father and the weight of carrying on his legacy. I never wanted to be CEO, Simone admitted. I was happy being VP of operations. I liked having someone else make the big decisions. But now that I'm here, I'm discovering I'm actually good at it. You're more than good at it, Terrence said. You're building something remarkable. Not just fixing what Derek broke but creating something new and better. When he drove her home, he walked her to her door. He didn't try to kiss her. He just smiled and said, I had a really great time tonight. Me too, Simone said. Can we do this again? Yes. I'd like that. Over the next few months, Simone and Terrence fell into an easy rhythm. Dinner dates. Weekend brunches. Trips to the park with Kennedy, who decided she liked Simone very much. It was comfortable and natural in a way Simone's relationship with Derek had never been. There was no pressure. No games. No manipulation. Terrence was honest about his feelings. He respected her boundaries. He made her laugh. And slowly, carefully, Simone felt herself opening up to the possibility of love again. He's good for you, Nia observed one day when they were having lunch. You seem lighter. Happier. I am happy, Simone said, surprised by the truth of it. I didn't think I would be. After everything with Derek, I thought I'd be broken for a long time. But I'm not broken. I'm healing. And Terrence is part of that. At work, things continued to improve. The company hit record revenue numbers. The impact investing division exceeded all projections. Employee satisfaction scores were the highest they had ever been. Simone was also working on something new. Something personal. She had started planning a foundation to help women who were going through difficult divorces, especially women whose partners had financial control. She wanted to provide legal resources, financial counseling, and emotional support. I wish I had known about resources like this when I first discovered Derek's affair, she told Patricia, who was helping her plan the foundation. I felt so alone. So overwhelmed. If this can help even one woman feel less alone, it will be worth it. One evening, Simone was working late in her office when her phone rang. It was a number she didn't recognize. Hello? Simone? It's Candace. Simone felt her entire body tense. What do you want? I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from, but I'm getting out of prison next month and I wanted to talk to you before I do. I have nothing to say to you, Candace. Please. Just 5 minutes. I need to apologize. I need you to know how sorry I am. Every instinct told Simone to hang up, but something made her stay on the line. You have 5 minutes, she said coldly. I was wrong about everything, Candace said, her voice breaking. I convinced myself that Derek loved me, that what we had was real, that you were the problem standing in the way of our happiness. I was so wrong. Yes, you were. Prison has given me a lot of time to think, to really understand what I did. I helped Derek steal from your company. I participated in his scheme to push you out. I destroyed a marriage. I hurt so many people. And for what? Derek didn't love me. He used me just like he used everyone else. Simone said nothing. I'm not asking for your forgiveness, Candace continued. I know I don't deserve that. I just wanted you to know that I understand now what I helped destroy. And I'm sorry. I'm so deeply sorry. Your apology doesn't change anything, Simone said. It doesn't undo the damage. It doesn't repair what you helped break. I know. I just needed to say it. Are you done? Yes. Thank you for listening. Simone hung up without saying goodbye. She sat at her desk, her hands shaking. She felt anger and disgust but also, surprisingly, pity. Candace had thrown away her career and her freedom for a man who never loved her. She had made terrible choices and now she was paying for them. But Simone refused to feel responsible for Candace's pain. She refused to help her or forgive her or make her feel better. Candace had made her choices. She could live with the consequences. Simone picked up her phone and called Terrence. Hey, he said warmly. I was just thinking about you. Can you come over? I need to see you. I'll be there in 20 minutes. When Terrence arrived, Simone told him about Candace's call. He listened without judgment, then pulled her into a hug. "You don't owe her anything," he said. "Not forgiveness, not understanding, nothing. She chose to help Derek hurt you. She has to live with that." "I know. I just hate that she can still affect me. I thought I was past all of this." "Healing isn't linear. Some days will be harder than others. But you're doing so well, Simone. Look at everything you've built. Everything you've accomplished. Don't let one phone call from someone who doesn't matter take that away from you." Simone leaned into him, drawing strength from his presence. This was what a real partnership felt like. Support without judgment. Understanding without enabling. Love without manipulation. She was healing. She was building a new life. And she was doing it on her own terms. 18 months after Derek's arrest, most of the legal matters were finally resolved. The civil lawsuits from employees who had been harassed had been settled out of court. Harris Financial Solutions paid compensation to everyone who had been victimized by Derek's toxic leadership. It was expensive, but Simone insisted on doing right by the people who had suffered. "This is part of our healing process," she told the board. "These employees deserve to be compensated for what they endured. And we need to show that we take accountability seriously." The company also implemented new policies to prevent future misconduct. Mandatory harassment training. Independent ethics hotlines. Regular reviews of leadership behavior. Patricia led the charge, creating one of the most comprehensive corporate ethics programs in the industry. Derek's restitution payments were also being handled. The court had ordered him to repay the full $2 million he had stolen, plus interest and penalties. His lawyer had worked out a payment plan that would take years to complete. Derek was making license plates in federal prison for minimal wages. Most of his restitution would come from selling assets and garnishing future earnings. "He'll be paying this debt for the rest of his life," Bernard told Simone. "Even after he gets out of prison, a significant portion of any income he earns will go to restitution." Simone felt no sympathy. Derek had stolen from her father's company. He deserved every consequence he faced. She did occasionally wonder about him. What he thought about in his prison cell. Whether he truly understood what he had destroyed. Whether he felt genuine remorse or just regret at being caught. But mostly she didn't think about Derek at all anymore. He was a chapter in her life that was closed. She had moved on. Candace had been released from prison and moved to another state. Simone heard through mutual contacts that she was working as a cashier at a grocery store, struggling to rebuild her life. Her career in finance was over. No one would hire her after her conviction. Again, Simone felt no sympathy. Candace had made her choices. What did matter to Simone was the foundation she had launched. The Simone Harris Foundation for Financial Independence provided resources for women leaving abusive relationships where financial control had been a factor. They offered free legal consultations, financial planning services, job training, and emergency funds. In its first year, the foundation had helped over 200 women. Simone personally met with many of them, sharing her own story and offering hope that they could rebuild their lives too. "You saved my life," one woman told her during a foundation event. "My ex-husband controlled all our money. I didn't even have access to our bank accounts. I felt trapped. Your foundation helped me get a lawyer, open my own accounts, and start over. Now I have a job and my own apartment. I never thought that would be possible." These moments made everything worthwhile. Every painful step of Simone's journey had led her here, to a place where she could help others avoid the same pain. Harris Financial Solutions had also grown significantly. The company now had 3 offices and over 400 employees. The impact investing division had become one of their most profitable units. They had won several industry awards for ethical business practices and corporate responsibility. "Your father would be incredibly proud," Bernard told Simone during their quarterly review meeting. "You've taken his vision and made it even better." "I hope so," Simone said. "I think about him every day. About what he would think of the choices I'm making. He would think you're an exceptional leader. Because you are." In her personal life, things with Terrence had progressed steadily. They had been dating for over a year now. Kennedy had started calling Simone Miss Simone, and would excitedly tell her about school and her friends whenever they were together. Terrence's ex-wife Angela had been gracious about Simone's presence in Kennedy's life. The 3 adults had even met for coffee to discuss how to make the co-parenting arrangement work smoothly. "I appreciate that you respect my role as Kennedy's mother," Angela had told Simone. "And I can see that you care about her well-being." "She's a wonderful kid," Simone had replied. "I would never try to replace you." I just want to support Terrence and be a positive presence in Kennedy's life. The relationship felt healthy and balanced in a way Simone hadn't known was possible. Terrence never tried to control her. He supported her career ambitions. He was proud of her success. He didn't see her as competition but as a partner. One evening, Terrence took her to dinner at an upscale restaurant overlooking the city. Simone had a feeling something was different about this dinner. Terrence seemed nervous, which was unlike him. "Is everything okay?" she asked. "Everything's perfect," Terrence said. "I just have something I want to ask you." He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Simone's breath caught. "Simone, I know we haven't been together that long. But I've never been more certain about anything in my life. You're brilliant and strong and compassionate. You inspire me to be better. Kennedy adores you. And I love you. I love you so much." He opened the box to reveal a beautiful sapphire ring surrounded by small diamonds. "I'm not asking you to say yes right now. I know you might need time. But I wanted you to know my intentions. Someday when you're ready, I would be honored to marry you." Simone felt tears streaming down her face. Happy tears this time. "I need to tell you something," she said. "After Derek, I didn't think I could trust anyone again. I thought I would spend the rest of my life alone. But you showed me that not all men are like him. That real partnership exists. That love doesn't have to involve manipulation or control. So is that a yes?" Terrence asked hopefully. Simone laughed through her tears. "Not yet. You're right that I need time. But ask me again in 6 months. I think my answer will be different then." "I can wait 6 months," Terrence said. He took her hand. "I can wait as long as you need." That night, lying in bed, Simone thought about how far she had come. 2 years ago, she had been in the worst moment of her life. Her husband had betrayed her. He had tried to destroy her career. She had felt broken and alone. Now she was a successful CEO. She had rebuilt her father's company. She had started a foundation helping other women. She had found a man who loved and respected her. She had a future that looked bright and full of possibility. Derek had tried to take everything from her. Instead, he had inadvertently given her the opportunity to become the person she was always meant to be. 1 year later, everything had changed. Simone stood in front of the mirror in her bedroom, adjusting her white dress. It was elegant and simple, not a traditional wedding gown but something that felt right for a second wedding. For a new beginning. Nia stood behind her, helping with the final touches. "You look beautiful," Nia said. "Are you nervous?" "Not even a little bit," Simone said. And it was true. She felt calm, peaceful, certain. The wedding was small, held in a garden at a boutique hotel. Only close friends and family were invited. Kennedy served as flower girl, taking her role very seriously as she scattered petals down the aisle. When Simone walked down that aisle and saw Terrence waiting for her, his eyes full of love and joy, she felt complete happiness. This was what marriage should feel like. Partnership, respect, equality, love without conditions or manipulation. They exchanged simple vows. Promised to support each other's dreams. To raise Kennedy together with love and wisdom. To build a life based on honesty and trust. When the officiant pronounced them married, Terrence kissed her and the small crowd cheered. Kennedy jumped up and down, excited about becoming a family officially. At the reception, Bernard gave a toast. "I've known Simone since she was a little girl following her father around the office," he said. "James always said his daughter was special. That she had something rare, strength combined with compassion. Brilliance combined with humility. He would be so proud of the woman she's become. And I know he would approve of Terrence because Terrence sees and values everything that makes Simone exceptional." Simone felt tears prick her eyes but she smiled through them. Her father would have liked Terrence. She was sure of it. Later in the evening, Simone stepped outside for a moment alone. The garden was quiet, just the sound of crickets and distant music from the reception. Her phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. For a moment she considered ignoring it. Then curiosity won and she answered. "Hello? Simone? It's Derek." She should have known he would find a way to reach her. Even from prison, even after everything, Derek couldn't resist trying to insert himself into her life. "How did you get this number?" she asked coldly. "I still have friends. I heard you got married today. I wanted to congratulate you. You have no right to contact me. Ever. I know. I just wanted to say I'm happy for you. Really. You deserve to be happy." Simone laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You destroyed our marriage. You tried to destroy my career. You stole from my family's company. And now you want to congratulate me? The audacity is remarkable, Derek." I know I messed up. I know I lost the best thing that ever happened to me. I just wanted you to know that I understand that now. I don't care what you understand. You don't get to be part of my life anymore. Not even as a voice on the phone. I'm getting out in 6 months. I was hoping maybe we could talk then. Maybe find some closure. I have closure, Derek. I found it when I watched you be led away in handcuffs. I found it when I built an incredible life without you. I don't need anything from you. Not apologies. Not explanations. Nothing. Simone, please. Goodbye, Derek. Don't contact me again. She hung up and blocked the number. For a moment, she stood in the garden, letting the anger wash over her and then flow away. Derek was a ghost from her past. He had no power over her present or her future. Terrence appeared at the garden door. You okay? I saw you step out. Derek called. Terrence's expression darkened. What did he want? To congratulate me on my wedding. To ask for closure. To inject himself into my life one more time. What did you tell him? That he gets nothing from me. That I've moved on. That he's irrelevant to my life now. Terrence walked over and pulled her into a hug. I'm sorry he intruded on your day. It's okay. Actually, in a weird way, it was perfect timing. He reminded me of everything I've overcome. Everything I've built. How far I've come from that woman standing in the conference room while he fired her. You're remarkable, you know that? I'm learning to believe it. They walked back into the reception together. Kennedy ran over and grabbed Simone's hand. Miss Simone, Mom, can I have more cake? Simone's heart swelled. Kennedy had started calling her mom a few months ago, after asking both Simone and Angela if it was okay. Angela had graciously said yes, understanding that Kennedy could love both her mothers. One more piece, Simone said. But that's it. As the evening wound down, Simone found herself standing with Nia on the dance floor. I'm so proud of you, Nia said. Look at everything you've accomplished. You rebuilt a company, started a foundation, found real love. You turned the worst thing that ever happened to you into something beautiful. I had help. You were there for me through everything. That's what friends do. But you did the hard work, Simone. You refused to let Derek's betrayal destroy you. You fought back and you won. Later that night, in the hotel suite she shared with her new husband, Simone reflected on her journey. 2 years ago, she had stood in that conference room humiliated and hurt, while Derek tried to take everything from her. She had felt powerless and broken. But she hadn't been powerless. She had been strategic, patient, strong. And now she had everything Derek had tried to take from her and so much more. She had respect, success, love, peace. Derek was in prison, his career destroyed, his reputation ruined. In 6 months he would be released to face a world that had moved on without him. He would struggle to find work. He would spend years paying back what he stole. He would live with the consequences of his choices. And Simone felt nothing about that. Not satisfaction. Not vindication. Nothing. Because Derek simply didn't matter to her anymore. What mattered was the life she had built. The people she helped through her foundation. The company she led. The family she was creating with Terrence and Kennedy. The future that stretched ahead, full of possibility. Terrence came out of the bathroom and smiled at her. What are you thinking about? He asked. How lucky I am, Simone said. How good life can be when you surround yourself with people who truly love and respect you. He climbed into bed beside her and pulled her close. I'm the lucky one, he said. I get to spend my life with the most incredible woman I've ever met. Simone smiled and kissed him. Tomorrow they would leave for their honeymoon in Greece. Then they would come back and continue building their life together. But tonight she just savored this moment. This peace. This happiness. Derek had tried to destroy her. Instead, he had freed her to become someone even stronger. Someone who knew her own worth. Someone who understood that the best revenge wasn't destroying your enemies, it was building a life so good that they became irrelevant. 3 years later, Simone stood on the stage at the annual Harris Financial Solutions Gala. The ballroom was filled with employees, clients, board members, and community partners. This was the company's 30th anniversary, 3 decades since her father had started it in a small office with big dreams. Thank you all for being here tonight, Simone said into the microphone. This company means everything to me. It represents my father's vision and values. And it represents what we can accomplish when we lead with integrity and compassion. She looked out at the crowd. So many familiar faces. Thomas and Patricia and Elizabeth. Bernard. Mia. Terrence and Kennedy sitting at a front table. And dozens of employees who had stayed with the company through the scandal and the rebuilding. 5 years ago, this company was at a crossroads. We had lost our way. Leadership had become corrupt. Our culture was toxic. Good people were afraid to speak up. We were serving ourselves instead of our clients. But we didn't give up. We made hard choices. We held people accountable. We rebuilt from the ground up. And now, I'm proud to announce that Harris Financial Solutions has had its best year ever. We've tripled our revenue since the restructuring. We've opened 6 new offices across the country. We've won multiple industry awards for ethical business practices. The crowd applauded. But the numbers aren't what I'm most proud of, Simone continued. What I'm most proud of is the culture we've created. A place where people feel safe and valued. Where we celebrate each other's successes. Where we hold ourselves to the highest standards of integrity. Where we remember that business is about serving people, not just making profits. She paused, emotion catching in her throat. My father built this company on the principle that everyone deserves access to excellent financial advice. That wealth shouldn't determine who gets good service. That we succeed when we help our clients succeed. I'm committed to continuing that legacy. More applause. Tonight, I'm also announcing the launch of a new initiative. Harris Financial Solutions will be partnering with historically Black colleges and universities to provide scholarships and internships for students interested in finance careers. We want to build a more diverse industry. We want to create opportunities for people who have traditionally been excluded from these spaces. The applause was louder now. This was important. Simone had been working on this initiative for months. And finally, I have a personal announcement. She gestured to Terrence and Kennedy. My family is growing. My husband and I are expecting a baby in 6 months. The room erupted in cheers. Kennedy jumped up and down, excited that everyone now knew about the baby brother she was getting. Terrence beamed with pride. After the speeches and awards and dinner, Simone mingled with guests. So many people wanted to congratulate her on the pregnancy and thank her for her leadership. Late in the evening, Simone stepped out onto the balcony for some air. The city lights twinkled below. She placed a hand on her small baby bump, still amazed that she was going to be a mother. Congratulations on everything, said a voice behind her. Simone turned to see Patricia standing there with a glass of champagne. Thank you. It's been quite a journey. I'm so glad you didn't let Derek destroy you. He tried so hard to push you out. To make you feel small and insignificant. But you fought back and you won. We all won, Simone said. This company is successful because of all of us working together. Later that night, Simone was scrolling through social media in the car while Terrence drove them home. Kennedy had already fallen asleep in the back seat, exhausted from the excitement. Out of curiosity, Simone searched Derek's name. She hadn't looked him up in years. Hadn't thought about him except when documents needed to be signed or restitution payments were made. His LinkedIn profile showed he was working as a junior accountant at a small firm. Entry-level position. Probably making a fraction of what he used to make. The bio said he was rebuilding and learning from past mistakes. His Instagram was private, but his profile picture showed him looking older and tired. No photos of a new girlfriend or wife. No signs of the confident, ambitious man he used to pretend to be. Simone felt nothing looking at those profiles. No satisfaction. No vindication. Just a sort of detached observation. This was Derek's life now. This was what happened when you destroyed people's trust and broke the law. She closed the browser and put her phone away. You okay? Terrence asked, glancing over at her. Better than okay. I was just thinking about how different my life is now compared to 5 years ago. Different better? So much better. I'm happier than I've ever been. I have work that matters. A foundation that helps people. Family I love. A future I'm excited about. Derek's loss was my gain, Terrence said softly. Simone smiled. I used to think he destroyed my life. But really he just cleared the way for me to build a better one. The next morning, Simone woke up early. She made coffee and sat on her balcony watching the sunrise. In a few hours she would go to the office. She had meetings scheduled, decisions to make, people depending on her leadership. Her phone buzzed. It was a text from a number she didn't recognize. This is Candace. I saw your announcement about the baby. Congratulations. You deserve happiness. Simone stared at the message for a long moment. Then she deleted it without responding. Candace didn't get to be part of her life. Not even with hollow congratulations. She had learned something important over the past 5 years. Forgiveness wasn't required for healing. She didn't have to forgive Derek or Candace or anyone else who had hurt her. She just had to move forward with her own life and not let their past actions determine her future choices. That was the real victory. Not that Derek was working a menial job or that Candace struggled to rebuild her reputation, but that Simone had built a life so full and meaningful that they simply didn't matter anymore. Later that week, Simone visited her father's grave. She hadn't been in a few months. She brought fresh flowers and sat on the bench beside his headstone. "Hi, Dad," she said quietly. "I came to tell you about everything that's happened. The company's doing great. We just had our best year ever. The impact investing division you would have loved. It's our fastest growing unit." A breeze rustled the trees around her. "I'm married now. To a good man who treats me with respect and kindness. His name is Terrence. You would approve of him. And I'm going to have a baby. Your first grandchild." Tears slid down her cheeks. "I wish you were here to meet them. To see what I've done with your company. To know that I protected your legacy. That I didn't let Derek destroy what you built." She wiped her eyes. "Bernard says you always knew I was strong. That you saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. I think I finally understand what you meant. I'm not the person I was 5 years ago. I'm someone stronger. Someone braver. Someone who knows her own worth." The sun broke through the clouds, warming her face. "Thank you for the trust. For protecting me even after you were gone. For giving me the tools I needed to fight back. I hope I've made you proud, Dad. I hope you're looking down and seeing everything I've become." She sat there for a while longer, feeling connected to her father's memory. Then she stood up and walked back to her car. Life was good. Really truly good. Derek had tried to take everything from her. Her marriage. Her career. Her confidence. Her future. Instead, he had inadvertently given her the greatest gift. The knowledge that she was strong enough to rebuild. To fight back. To win. And now, 3 years later, Simone Harris had everything Derek Harris never did. Respect. Integrity. Peace. Success earned through honesty rather than stolen through deception. She had won. Not by destroying Derek, he had destroyed himself. But by building a life so exceptional that his betrayal became just a stepping stone in her journey rather than the end of her story. As Simone drove back to the office, she thought about everything that lay ahead. Growing the company. Expanding the foundation. Raising her children with Terrence. Creating a legacy that would make her father proud. The conference room where Derek had fired her 3 years ago was now used for collaborative strategy sessions. The office that had been his was now hers. The company he tried to steal was thriving under her leadership. And Derek? Derek was irrelevant. A footnote in her story. A cautionary tale about what happens when ambition isn't tempered by integrity. Simone had learned the most important lesson of all. The best revenge isn't about making your enemies suffer. It's about building a life so extraordinary that they become completely irrelevant to you.